Shalom. Let me get straight into this lesson. But the spirit jumped on me to go into this. I was talking about it in a few of my lessons, this lion and hyena dynamic. They are natural born arch enemies. It's the same as Jacob and Esau. You know, it's like we're not gonna never see things eye to eye. And the so-called white man brings his version of Christianity that if you don't agree with it, all of a sudden it's hate speech, all of a sudden it's invalid. And they're not gonna never see things through the perspective of the truth. Like we're not gonna see things their way. It's just not gonna happen. So it's natural born enemies, and that's what you Jake's got to understand. You some kind of way have lost sight of that, or you really never knew it because of the enchantment of Christianity. All right. So I'm gonna get into this chat GBT, and then matter of fact, let me do this. Let me do this. And I'm gonna do a twofoldness with this because I'm gonna use a lion and hyena analogy for as the Bible, and I'm gonna use it for as Jacob and Esau. Twofoldness. So right here at the top, and this is a very, I was gonna try to put a video in, but every time I use the lion hyena videos, they get flagged. But I advise you brothers and you sisters to study this matter because it will explain to you Jacob and Esau, but we'll never see eye to eye with the Edomites. It's not gonna happen. It says the lion and the spotted hyena rivalry stems from intense competition for the same prey and territory, with lions using brute strength and hyenas employing intelligence, numbers, and mobbing tactics to steal, kills, and attack each other's young. You hear this? Both are apex Salakian. Both were apex predators in the so-called African ecosystem, and their conflict maintains a balance through habitat loss has increased direct confrontation. It says lions, the larger but less numerous competitors, often rely on their strength to defend kills, while hyenas utilize coordinated groups to challenge them, with confrontations sometimes ending lethally. You hear this? So I'm gonna get into this chat GPT. It's gonna explain this lion and hyena concept, and also I'm gonna use that analogy. If I had a book about the lions, it cannot apply to anybody else. It can apply to. I'm gonna let the chat GPT break it down.
Let's break this down carefully, step by step, using your lion hyena analogy and connecting it to the Bible, Israelite context, and theological ideas like universalism and supersessionism. Step 1. The lion in the book analogy. Imagine you are a lion and you write a book called The Lion's Guide to the Savannah. This book contains lessons on hunting, social structure, territory, mating habits, things that are specific to lions. Now imagine a hyena tries to read this book and use it. Some of the lessons might loosely apply, maybe something about avoiding danger or finding water, but most of it wouldn't make sense because hyenas have different instincts, social behavior, and survival strategies. Key point: the book is written for a specific audience, lions, with specific needs and context. Outside of that audience, it loses much of its original meaning. Step 2. How this applies to the Bible. The Bible, particularly the Old Testament, was written primarily for the Israelites. It addresses Israelite history, culture, laws, covenant with God, and their relationship with Him. It assumes certain knowledge, social structures, and traditions that were unique to Israel. If someone outside that original context, like the hyena, reads it and tries to apply it directly to their life, some universal moral lessons, like love your neighbor, may still make sense, but many parts are context specific.
Now, I want to make some corrections. That's when the chat GPT goes off. That neighbor, what it was talking about in the Bible, the whole Bible is about the Israelites. It's like this chat GPT is breaking down that analogy. It's going off here and there, but it's not a universal book. It's only for the Israelites. That's it. So anybody outside the nation of Israel, that's why you Christians can't get it right. You cannot understand our customs, our laws, the way we did things, um, many different things, because your culture is different from our culture. Any other culture is going to be different from the statute, laws, and commandments in the way we govern as our nation. It's going to seem, it's not going to make sense to anybody that's not an Israelite.
Trying to apply them directly can distort the intended meaning. Step 3. Universalism and supersessionism. Universalism, the belief that the Bible's promises and teachings are for everyone, not just the Israelites. This is like saying, even though the lion book is written for lions, it should apply to all animals.
You hear that?
Supersessionism theology, the idea that the church, or believers in Jesus, has replaced Israel as God's chosen people. This is like saying, lions no longer get the lessons in the book. Now hyenas are the real audience. Both of these perspectives take the Bible out of its original context and reinterpret it to apply to a completely different group than the Israelites. Step 4. Why context matters. Original intent matters because God's messages to Israel were specific to them, including their covenants, prophecies, and laws. Ignoring context can lead to misunderstanding what God intended, misapplying promises or instructions that were never meant for outsiders.
Boom, there you go. So this is why a Christian, especially an Edomite Christian, that will be labeled a so-called white person today that goes back into the lineage of Esau, Edom, they're not going to never understand the dynamic of the Bible because you've been tricked. Let me wake you up to something. Let me tell you what they did. They took the Bible, our book, and they made it apply to anybody, right? Just because let me break it down to you like this. Just because you've been taught that and you think it's the truth, don't mean that it is the truth. You actually got lied to. The Bible, like the Chat GPT was giving you the analogy. If I write a book to the lions about the lions, it cannot apply to any animal in the so-called animal kingdom. It wouldn't apply to a hyena. It wouldn't apply to an elephant, giraffe, so on and so forth. Only to the lions. And what you got tricked on is they told you the Bible was for anybody. You got tricked. You got lied to. So you got to wake up out that cognitive dissonance. But we know you're not in most cases because it's the natural born enemies. Jake is the lion and Esau Edom is the hyena. And like I say, go watch videos of them getting down. And once you understand that, you understand the dynamic in this world, what's really going on between these two nations. So let's get more into this lesson. Let's close this out in 1 second. And you can try to go to the new so-called New Testament and try to twist and turn scriptures, but it's only talking about Israel. Now, just because you've been taught that this, like the word Gentile, I got a lesson coming up dealing with that word and breaking it down and giving the origin so you can properly understand that Gentile or Gentiles can refer to Israelites and it can refer to other nations. That's something you have not been taught because you've been taught every time you see the word Gentile or Gentiles in the plural sense of it, it's always talking about the other nations. That's your misinterpretation and your miseducation. And you Christians have been getting your ass whooped lately with these scriptures. Amos 3:2 is a Bible verse in the book of Amos that reads, "You only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for your iniquities." This verse emphasizes that while God knows all nations, he had a special relationship with the people of Israel because of this unique covenant. So when he made the covenant with us the first time, it was only dealing with the nation of Israel. There was no other nations in this covenant. And that's what you people don't understand. You don't understand the history. And you have to understand the Old Testament to understand the so-called New Testament because the New Testament was comprised of pulling scriptures and this understanding and the promises and the covenants and the prophecies from the so-called Old Testament. Really, the Old Testament ain't no Old Testament. It's all one living, breathing book. It says, because of this unique covenant and the privilege of being chosen, Yahweh holds Israel to a higher standard and will punish them for specific sins and injustice. That's why we find ourselves at the bottom right now. And we these heathens got a hold of our book, the so-called white man, and he has lied and distorted, totally, what I'm saying, universalized the Bible, told you that so-called God was his name and he was all love, and they say the Messiah name was Jesus, and they say he was all love. They have distorted everything with the Bible. And that's why our people, including these other nations, have no truth of the Bible. They don't know what's going on. And anything that challenges so-called white supremacy Christianity is considered hate speech. Deuteronomy 7:6. It says, "For you are a holy people, people unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua. The Lord Yahweh have chosen you out of all peoples on the face of the earth to be his people, his treasured possession." So-called God, as you know, is a racist. He's a separatist. But you have not been taught that because you don't understand. You haven't been taught the truth of the Bible. So he's going to make a new covenant, right, with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah. Only Israelites. Hebrews 8:8. This in the so-called New Testament for you so-called New Testament only Christians. You even go to some of these bookstores like Barnes and Nobles, they only got so-called New Testament Bibles because they want to make you think that the nation of Israel was done away with. For finding fault with them, he said, "Behold, the days come." Finding fault with who? The Israelites. Get off the retardation bus. "The days come," said the Lord Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushua, "when I will make a new covenant." It ain't for all humanity. And they go to show you John 3:16 cannot mean what you people was taught it means. It was talking about the world of Israel. The word world has different meanings. "When I will make a new covenant," come off the retardation, "with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah," all 12 tribes. Why does it say the house of Israel and the house of Judah? Because the house of Israel went into the Syrian captivity. The nation got split with Jeroboam and Rehoboam. You got to know the freaking history, right? It got split. Israel went into the Syrian captivity, and he split into two nations. I mean, two kingdoms, rather. Northern kingdom comprised of the house of Israel, and southern kingdoms comprised of the house of Judah, Benjamin, and remnant of Levi. Right, let's keep going. So this is what another new covenant going to be with. It didn't say all humanity. Matthew 15:24. This the Messiah words himself, straight from the horse's mouth, as you people say in this world. "But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel." Yah-Shar Allah in the Hebrew tongue. That's it. So you've been taught all incorrectly, and you've been taught with those images. So every time you see the witchcraft with Christianity, they show that so-called white boy Jesus, which is Caesar Borgia, which goes back to Serapis Christos. This is nothing new under the sun. You Israelites, you so-called blacks, Hispanic, and Native Americans have always been in love with these idols like you do today. That's why the Most High said this is a rebellious and stubborn people. So the Most High didn't change. He didn't switch his mind. He ain't wish-washy like the people of the world is. Malachi 3:6. "For I'm the Lord Yahweh, I change not." So that supersessionism, that's out the window. The replacement theology, which is one and the same, out the window. Universalism is out the window. He's not dealing with the church. He's dealing with the nation of Israel. Nothing never changed. As the scripture explains to us, if you got sense. If you retarded, ain't no help for you. "For I'm the Lord Yahweh." Anytime you see the Lord name in all capital letters, that's his name. But a Christian don't know these things. They ain't supposed to know them. "I changed not." So he didn't switch it up. So when the Messiah came, he was coming to be the sacrificial lamb, because that was only an Israelite custom from the Passover, right, to redeem the house of Israel as a collective nation back unto the Father. And only the elect in this particular lifetime. "Therefore, ye sons of Jacob," where's Jacob interchanged with the Israelites, "are not consumed," because the men come first and then everything else. It's the men, the women, and the children. That's order, not the goddamn woman. All right, hopefully this lesson was edifying. Call Allah Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rachak, Kordash. Shalom.